The National Rifle Association, also known as the NRA, is a non-profit organization that promotes the right for anyone to own a gun. The NRA goes to great lengths to defend the right to bear arms, going as far as spending millions of dollars to ensure that guns remain as accessible as they are today. The money made from the selling of guns greatly influences the U.S. economy. The firearms industry makes up to $31.8 billion of the U.S. economy, compared to the $27.8 billion from 3 years ago.
You wrote an op-ed that just got published. Yes. A lot of people probably have not read it yet. One of the things you say in it is that you are not going to campaign for, vote for, any candidate, regardless of what party they're in, if they do not support common sense gun reform.
Yeah, I meant what I said. And the reason I said that is this. The majority of people in this country are a lot more sensible than what you see in Washington. The reason that Washington doesn't work well, in part, is because the loudest, shrillest voices, the least compromising, the most powerful, or those with the most money, have the most influence. The way Washington changes is when people vote. And the way we break the deadlock on this issue is when Congress does not have just a stranglehold on this debate, or excuse me, the NRA does not have a stranglehold on Congress in this debate, but it is balanced by a whole bunch of folks, gun owners, law enforcement, the majority of the American people. When their voices are heard, then things get done.
However, despite the large economic growth that the NRA provides in America, multiple issues have surfaced from the loose gun control laws. Mass shootings, as seen in Parkland, a school shooting that resulted in 17 deaths, or the Las Vegas shooting, which resulted in 58 people dead and 851 people injured. Gun control laws are yet to be reformed because of the grasp the NRA has on Congress. Through lobbying, they are able to receive donations from most of these congressmen, who in return get their money back in taxes as it was filed as a charitable donation. With this cycle in mind, most gun control laws suggested are appealed without a second thought, despite most of these congressmen being in favor of reforms. Knowing that the NRA has a tight grip on many aspects of American society, we went out into the streets to conduct interviews and see what the people think about the worsening issues of gun violence in the U.S.
Gun control, to me, means a host of unresolved conflicts. What I mean by that is there are people on the far left who would like to resolve the issue completely by abolishing weapons, and there are people on the far right who would like to abolish the issue completely by arming everyone, and nobody seems to agree on a middle point.
Gun control means to me where you're literally preventing any type of gun violence gaining reach of anybody who's potentially hazardous or potentially harmful to either society, community, or even a civilization.
It means protecting society more and helping people who are frightened by guns. But on the other hand, you can never give all your power to government, and it's good to have a balance.
Well, first of all, we come from a country where people just don't carry guns. So for us, or for me anyway, I just think the idea that it should be definitely be restricted, and the idea of someone carrying a handgun with them is a little bit shocking.
Definitely very much in favor of gun control. In fact, I hate the idea of people having guns. The only purpose I would ever see for guns is if someone was hunting, and only if they were hunting something that was overpopulated. Like, there's far too much of it. I'm not in favor of hunting anything that's in any way being endangered or even close to it. That would be the only purpose. In Canada, we don't have guns in our homes, most of us. We don't have guns in our cars. We don't, and we feel safe in most of our cities almost all the time.
I guess it's limiting who you give guns to get a positive outcome from it.
Not to the extent of other people. I mean, I don't know anyone who's ever been in a mass shooting, personally. I've seen people be shot. I mean, I'm from Queens. I'm from New York. grew up in the projects. Anyone who grew up in the projects is acquainted with this concept. It's not something new or foreign.
I know people who know many people. I know people who live in Florida and they do on the farm and stuff.
Never me personally, but I hope it doesn't.
Potentially. I don't think it's universal. I think that's circumstantial. I don't think that every situation where there's been gun violence has really had a power dynamic in it. It could have been an accident. It could have been kids playing with a pistol that don't understand muzzle control or trigger control.
Power and gun violence combine together because for one, people, when they have a gun, they feel like they're the most powerful person in the room, because anybody who has a gun is gonna obviously feel the need to be obeyed by the rest in some sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess if you do have a gun, you're going to feel like you have more power over someone who doesn't.
I would assume that people feel it's a sense of fear and needing some protection. Knowing that somebody else could have a gun might instill that fear in somebody else that they would need to feel they have the same ammunition. So I think where we are, people don't assume that everyone's not carrying a gun. So it's not like we don't have stabbings and things like that in some areas of town, but we wouldn't even assume anybody would have a gun. And so that would be not. I think here, like, or in countries where there's a lot of cities, a lot of violence, plus a lot of fear and feeling that that's the only option.
I do. I'd like to see a place where both meet. I mean, I don't think that no one should own a rifle or a gun, or potentially an AR-15 or assault-style weapon if they exhibit that they're skilled or smart enough to own it. But I mean, these rifles get into the wrong hands very easily, and I mean, the straw man conventions is a super big problem. So,
Gun control laws do need to change. Less people need to have them. More people need to not have them.
Considering everything that goes on, I think definitely it should be considered making it stricter. I think, especially people with mental illnesses, that should probably be looked into.
Very hard to get a gun in Canada to legally be able to have one. They have to be locked up at all times, and even if they're being transported, they have to be held in a locked container. So that's big. People are not allowed to carry guns on their person. That's against the law. It's something called a concealed weapon, which people are not allowed to have in Canada. So we hear of stories quite often where we are of small children, firing a gun and accidentally killing themselves or harming someone else or their parent or something. And that has, as far as I know, never happened in our country because their laws are so strict about transporting a gun.
I do believe that people have the right to have a weapon, because I do not think that government can be trustworthy at all times, and you've seen it with Germany, you've seen it with Russia. There will always be faults in big societies with 265 million people, so you can't say whether one person has a gun that he will not do something extremely right in certain scenarios. So it's hard to judge, but like overall, with that many people, you will have bad cases just like you do with profiling and many other things. And, like, there will have to be like sometimes where you lay down the foot, and sometimes it will be like, okay, like this is a fault in society, and that's why we have prison, that's why we have a court system, and that's why we have a justice department. So
I don't want to go and say yes, make it legal in all states for people to own guns, because I feel like that would like spark some sort of like power trip, because it's like now you're giving the people the power, yes. And as the Second Amendment states, yes, we do have, the right to bear arms, and in case the government does fail on us or goes against us, we have the right to retaliate. But I think there should honestly be way heavier background checks. There should be way heavier protocols. There should be heavier screenings, because it's like you can detect mental illnesses off the bat nowadays with today's technology. And there should just be, I don't know, some sort of like a general overview for all states.
yeah, I think you're right. I think there's some restrictions about the part of a gun. It's called the lower receiver, where the action is. I don't know that much about it. I'm not super informed. I'm not a super libertarian where I'm going to be like, hey, whatever you do in the privacy of your home is up to you, and what other people want to say about it is no, because I think there are cases where this should be legislated and restricted. I mean, we live in a society, whether or not you want to, you have to abide by the laws of that society. You have to respect the other people in that society. So, I mean, these laws are put in place for a reason. So, that's what I think.
Well, it's a bit worrying because if, for all we know, a 12-year-old child could freely print one of those guns. Or, yeah, probably a bit worrying.
That is so wrong. It's just the epitome of what's wrong.
Our country.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. I don't see a need of why, like I already said, why people need to have guns in the first place. So to be able to 3D print them is just ridiculous.
We used to have really bad auto fatality rates. The auto fatality rate has actually dropped precipitously, drastically since I was a kid. Why is that? We decided we had seatbelt laws. We decided to have manufacturers put airbags in place. We decided to crack down on drunk driving and texting. We decided to redesign roads so that they were less likely to have a car bank. We studied what is causing these fatalities using science and data and evidence, and then we slowly treated it like the public health problem it was, and it got reduced. We are not allowed to do any of that when it comes to guns because people, if you propose anything, it is suggested that we're trying to wipe away gun rights and impose tyranny and martial law. When we talked about doing effective background checks, it was resisted because the notion was we were going to take your guns away. I just came from a meeting today in the Situation Room in which I've got people who we know have been on ISIL websites, living here in the United States, U.S. citizens, and we're allowed to put them on the no-fly list when it comes to airlines. But because of the National Rifle Association, I cannot prohibit those people from buying a gun.
Thank you.